Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So I already had an introduction. I wanted to talk about the free online spiritual gathering meditation thing that I'm doing, which, you know, we'll get to in a bit. But I did that introduction yesterday. It's kind of epic, and it's a funny part about this guy, Brian, which should, hopefully I'll remember to put that in the title of the video. But the other part of the title is you're a dummy truther until you understand if they release the truth, the system comes down. If they tell you the truth, the system would collapse. Now, this is, includes Jeffrey Epstein, but certainly not just about that. It's about everything. The system exists on your perception. And your perception, if they told you about aliens, certainly the system would come down. If they told you the truth about all of it, if they told you the truth about where you came from, everything that they know that we don't know, the people that control the system, all this inside, information that they have that is shared amongst maybe a handful of people. And if they told you what their motivation is and what the, history is here, all the things that are, hidden from you, the true origin of the human race, the true origin of the planet Earth, what's happened, all these things. If they told you the truth, the system would collapse, right? But the sad part is it wouldn't collapse right away because people would deny it and go into denial about it like they're doing with Trump and Epstein, and I'll show you that in a moment. But it would eventually collapse because on a subconscious level, you would have the truth, which you already do have the truth, but it would just niggle away at people until they realize that the system is a fucking lie. You have an illusionary system that is based in a series of lies and a orientation, lies that create an orientation to life that's false. And so when you actually realize this, and you don't need to know all of it, you just need to know, a fraction of what I know and a fraction of what you know. Right? You just need to know a little bit to understand that it's all bullshit. We'll get into that in a moment, too. There's a great AI meme somebody sent me. It's all bullshit. Like, this whole thing is all bullshit. And so, once you know that, then you cease to participate in the system. You cease to be, you cease to have blinders on. I mean, you have to participate because there's no other choice, but your heart isn't in it. And you know that the system is negative and demonic and it's taking you in the wrong direction. And we all know enough right now. So that should be the case. Like, we don't need any more information. People think they need, if I just get to the bottom of this, I just go down a little bit farther into the rabbit hole of this subject or that subject, then I'll know the truth. But you'll never know the truth because they can't tell you the truth. And even if they told you the truth, and the truth is told time and time again, the truth is right in front of us all the time. And people can't distinguish it from the sea of fucking bullshit. It's, saturated and marinated in bullshit, right? That you can't see the truth because it's, it's like looking for a needle in the haystack of all the bullshit that's around it. And so it's there for you to see, but people refuse to see it. And they can't distinguish it because everything's a fucking lie and illusion. Now with AI and, all the things, I mean, so much of our system is illusionary. Our movies and TV shows, we enter into these illusions. Video games, we enter into these illusions. And, that's most of the content is some sort of fictional shit that you see out there. Books that are fictional stories, imaginative stories and things like this, right? They have their own place in everybody's internal world. There's people who dress up at Comic-Con and these other places like fictional characters, and they say like fucking put bumper stickers on their cars like 5 hobbits on board, or my real language is Klingon, or some fucking crazy bullshit like that. And they live these imaginary lives as furries and other bullshit, right? They're pretending to be something they're not. They sleep in animal beds. They have these little animal beds they sleep in, and people live these lives of thinking that they're like, they identify as a cat or something or whatever. I mean, it's just madness. And so nobody really wants the truth, including people in the truth community. But the simple truth is, if they told you the truth, any of it or all of it, you would either reject it. At first, people would reject it. Certainly, that would happen. But as time went on, it would just niggle away at you, and it would just be there, and people would just lose faith in the system, because the system would no longer, the people who run the system wouldn't control anything. Like just the idea of money. Like people kind of know money's illusionary to whatever extent, but you're still using it. And, things like Bitcoin, which are, these things are just imaginary digital currencies that we attribute to have value. Like we say, Bitcoin, what is it, like $100,000 now. You can basically buy a house or half a house with Bitcoin right now, like one Bitcoin. When I first heard about Bitcoin, it was like 10 cents, right? Like, so what's that? How's that? Why is Bitcoin worth more now? Why is it worth anything? Why is a dollar bill worth something, right? Because we agree upon it. And once the truth came out, the shared agreements would no longer exist. And so the system, which is illusionary, based in these illusions that we all put value on things and authority, we give authority to governments and people. And when that crumbled, then there would be nothing, right? So they know if they tell you the truth, the system will collapse. In fact, all of their power exists in them having information that you don't have access to and getting you to believe in bullshit that isn't true and getting you to chase, shiny objects that aren't, chase squirrels and shiny objects and things that have no real value and don't really exist. And so if getting the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, and not too many of you guys are like that anyway, but we know there are a lot of people like that all they care is about is getting truth about Jeffrey Epstein, and they've deluded themselves that if the truth came out without Jeffrey Epstein, all of a sudden child trafficking and pedophilia would be stopped. And it certainly fucking wouldn't. And none of these other things would be either. If they get to the truth about something, it doesn't stop anything. You put a few people in jail, whatever the trial thing is, whatever happens. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop it, right? It just, it satisfies the masses. So they'll move on to something else. So, but if they did tell you the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, the whole system would collapse. And is that what you want? Like, does anybody really want that? Like, what if, like, all right, you now have the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, but your grocery stores are all empty and people run around and, like with mobs and hordes and post-apocalyptic shit, right? So, getting the truth, it's a negative truth, right? The people don't know the real truth. I mean, they have maybe a sense of it just from, if you know the negative truth, then you can sense the real truth. That, material life is illusion, and we're here for a spiritual purpose, which is, if people realize that, then the system would collapse. But they don't have a spiritual truth. Like, you can get the truth by going to God. And you can find out what's important and what's significant to you and what your purpose is and what your tasks are. And that's the real truth. Like, then you have the truth of your true purpose, your soul's purpose, which is the one truth that you need to get to is, why am I here? That is the truth that everyone should get to at some point. Why am I here? What's my reason for existence? You could look at everybody's reason for existence, and that's also important, but why is your specific reason for existence? What am I supposed to be doing? What do I need to know? What's important for me in my life? Like, that's something that everybody should be asking, and that's a question they make sure you don't ask, right? Because if the truth came out, at some point everyone would have an existential crisis and say, this is all fucking bullshit. I've been wasting my fucking time in my life. And then they would ask that question, why am I really here? What should I really be doing? But, in a post-apocalyptic world, you don't have time to ask that question because there's a rat gnawing at your leg or whatever it is, right? Somebody's trying to, eat you or whatever it is. And so, that's the circumstances that we're now in. So let me show you this thing with Jeffrey Epstein. And let's show you the delusion, how everyone has deluded themselves with, here, let's just get to it. But this is just an example, because the Jeffrey Epstein thing is kind of over. at least for now. Like, people realize that Trump isn't going to tell them, and they're not going to bail on Trump no matter what. Like, Trump has been dinged up. His approval rating is at its lowest. Somehow the Republicans are still mostly behind him because, they don't want to give up on their hopium, but, they have. They just don't know it yet. But the reality is that this is a good example of everything that I've been saying, that they can't tell you the truth and that people don't really want to hear the truth.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein.
So Lex Friedman is asking a good question here. I showed you this before. And this is a good example of people have deluded themselves about Trump. Because he's saying there's a moment where you had a hesitation about Epstein. Why in the world would anybody have a hesitation about Jeffrey Epstein, right? Why would everybody be like, oh, I don't want to know the truth about that? I mean, other than what I said, that it would take the system down, which it would, in one way or another over time. But other than that, is there anybody who is like, oh my God, don't tell me that, don't reveal the truth about Jeffrey Epstein? Like, maybe people don't care about it, but it's about, there's victims now who are alive, according to the official story, these young girls who have been traumatized. One of them who got a settlement, Virginia Giuffre, the one who got $12 million from Prince Andrew, got Epstein. She's dead. She committed suicide. Had a car accident, and then for some reason, like, it seems like they were trying to murder her twice, right? And so, that's the official story, at least. I mean, at least the story is official story. She committed suicide. And these girls have been wrecked and traumatized by this thing. And then just, it lingering, like them hoping that someday that these people would be held accountable. So why would anybody have hesitation about it, right? The only reason is if you were pals with Jeffrey Epstein, besties, like Trump was, and you were complicit and you were partaking, right? That would be one reason. And the other reason is that you would be protecting people that nobody else wants protected. Like, everybody else wants the elite to be held accountable, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, certainly now. So should be no hesitation. It's a no-brainer, right? And we know what Trump's hesitation is. We'll get to that in a moment. But Trump was never pro getting to the bottom of Jeffrey Epstein. That was something that all of his dopes, all of the Trumpers assumed. They assumed that this guy cared about Jeffrey Epstein. They assumed he cared about the truth because he had people around him that were either truthers who were endorsing him, people who were right-wing truthers, Epsteiners, cubies, who were endorsing him, and then people like his son and all these other people, J.D. Vance and all these other people, Kash Patel, that were all saying that they wanted the truth, and they were, they became part of his administration. They were part of his campaign. And so everyone assumed that Trump was also on board with Jeffrey Epstein, and he never said he was. In fact, he said the opposite. And so this is a great question by Lex Friedman.
Releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island.
So why the hesitation? And if Trump didn't have a hesitation, he would say, oh, I don't have a hesitation. And he wouldn't say, I never went to his island. Why the hesitation? I never went to his island. What are you talking about? I never went to his island. So he's telling you he went to his island, right? He's telling you his hesitation is that he might be incriminated. Like, he's just fucking telling you. And, not everybody watched this interview, and this is, whatever it was. But the clip has been played a lot. I'm going to play an extended version of the clip here.
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately.
Fortunately. Like, I would have gone if I could have. Fortunately, I never went. I mean, so, he just asked him, why are you hesitating on this? Why are you against holding pedophiles accountable? Are you against this information coming out? Why are you hesitating? I don't know. I never went to the island. I never went to the island. I went to the island, right? And so he's telling you he went to the island, and then
But a lot of people did.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy.
he was hale and hearty. He was creepy as fuck. He was a good salesman. He was hale and hearty. But this should, Trump knows why, because Trump and him were besties, right? And so Trumpers assumed Trump was on board with Jeffrey Epstein. He never was. Like, he was always hesitant. He had Jeffrey Epstein hesitancy, right?
He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like island.
Yeah, like islands and stuff. Like islands, he had nice assets. He had some really good assets. He had some, he's some really good tits, right?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island.
Yeah, so if a lot of big people went to that island, why would you have any hesitancy? Aside from the fact that you went there, and like you're now saying you did, or information would come out about you. Let's take out the information that would come out about him. He's going to say this in a second clip with Fox News. He was concerned about those people there, the people that are his real people. Because if he was one of us, he'd want the truth. Because he has no allegiance we don't have any allegiance to the elite. We don't like the elite, right? Democrats don't like the elite. Republicans don't like the elite, right? The average person doesn't like the elite. But for Trump, those are his people. We'll get into that in a moment.
But fortunately, I was not one of them.
Fortunately, I was not one of them. Why do you have to say that again? And, all right, then release the fucking information. If you weren't one of them, then why aren't you releasing the information? Now, yes, the system would come down, and that's a reason. But the people on his campaign cultivated this belief by, this is the number one issue for so many people that are Trumpers. And the most passionate, most fucking annoying Trumpers are also Epstein people. They're also Cubies, right? And so there are Democrats and other people that would like this released. And, there's no reason for it not to be. And so if you're not on the island, then why aren't you just releasing it? Why would there be hesitancy?
Just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it?
It's very interesting, isn't it? Like, Trump wants this fucking thing to end. Like, how Trump likes to talk about shit? Trump is being different than he always is. Like, this is a way that he could really say, hey, yeah, this exposed the elites. Yeah, there's a real reason. Trump loves to flirt with the crowd and say that he knows why they're doing things, that he's going to expose it. This is, him cleaning up the swamp. And there's nothing more swampy than Jeffrey Epstein and the pedophiles that, would be a part of his thing, right? This story is one of the grossest stories out there because it involves human trafficking and little kids. It involves an elite that never is held accountable. And that's why people are so passionate about it. And he's not leaning into this at all. He's sitting on his hands. He wants to dismiss it as soon as possible.
Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to...
Probably will be. Well, if you win presidency, he usually guarantees and promises anything. Like, he could say right now, yeah, it'll definitely be, because it's this is probably about a year ago, right? He's not going to have to deal with this for a whole year. So he could say, yeah, it definitely will be. If we get in there, I'm releasing the list. Probably will be. Like, he's never wishy-washy because he just bullshits all the time. He makes promises he can't keep, so why not make any promise? Probably will be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy...
I would take a look at it, right? Probably will be. I would take a look at it, right? I mean, just really not good at all here. Let me go back here a little bit.
The list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know,
But, like he just said that Jeffrey Epstein, it's been so many years since he died. Why do you guys still care about this? So he's saying Kennedy's more interesting, but it's not. Because the Kennedy files were, the passion behind that is gone. Like, there are people who remember Kennedy now are old. Like, they're old, they're very old people. Like, the people the Kennedy was, if you were in your 20s when the Kennedy assassination happened, you're 80 now, right? It happened in 1963. And so you're in your 80s if you're like a teenager, and people who were in their 20s and people who are more aware of what was going on in their 30s, most of them are dead. And if they're not, they don't give a shit about this as much as, Jeffrey Epstein is contemporary. But Trump would later come out and say, why do you care about this? It's so many years ago and the guy's dead. But he's trying to say that the Kennedy thing is more important. And it's not. Because the Kennedy stuff, almost anybody involved in it is dead. And if they're not, they're so old, holding them accountable. But the Jeffrey Epstein people are fucking roaming around, and he's fucking one of them. And he's the president, right? So, there's nobody that was involved in the assassination attempt of Kennedy that's president. And so none of those things are nearly as important or contemporary as Jeffrey Epstein. Like, he's just, and the way he's talking, he's so wishy-washy, low-energy Jeb, right? Sleepy Joe. Like, Trump's not passionate about this at all. He just wishes this guy would stop fucking asking about it.
they do that for danger too, because it endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein.
Yeah, because it doesn't endanger anybody right now. Like, they just released the Operation Ajax about how the CIA fucked the Iranian government and Mossadegh, because it's 60 years ago. 60 years, everyone who was involved in that is dead, right? They released the stuff. 9/11, at some point, they might release information, although that would be a little bit bigger. But, when it goes a certain amount of time, all the people who are dead and all the people who care about it, all the people who were involved and all the people who care about it are dead, right? And so it's like, you can release the information. That's why Kennedy thing is different. And he still didn't release all the information. They still didn't want to say that everything that happened with Kennedy was bullshit and they killed an American president and it was a plot, like it was a conspiracy. They didn't even say that with Kennedy. So why the fuck do you think they're going to say that with Epstein? Because if you knew the truth about the moon landing or you knew the truth about any of these things, you would say, well, what else is a lie? Then everything's a lie. If they lied about that, then they lied about everything. That's why conspiracy theorists are so threatening. If conspiracy theorists were taken seriously, and so many people are conspiracy theorists, almost everybody is, about something, but if you were told that it's true, that the conspiracies are all true, if one is true, then they're all true. That's why if you found out the Trump assassination attempt was fake, then what would you believe in anymore? You'd no longer believe in the media or the government, because that was, if the lies that came out there lying to you about everything, then everything that you know is a lie, and then you have to question your religion and your everything. They'd be like, well, they've been lying about everything, right? And so then you're like, well, fucking, there's nothing I can believe, and then no matter what they say, you're not going to believe it. We'll get into that in a bit with this stuff to do with Ghislaine Maxwell.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, so let's go back just a little bit here.
Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it. What do you mean you'd have no problem with it? Why would anybody have a problem with it? And he said this is his position. I have no problem with it, which means he has a problem with it. Because why would anybody have a problem with a bunch of elite politicians and celebrities being held accountable for being pedophiles? Why would anybody have a problem with that? Why would anybody be like, oh, I don't want that guy to go to jail? Why would anybody in the right mind have a problem with something so insidious, like so fucking gross? Of course, you should be like, yeah, where's your fucking enthusiasm? You want to drain the swamp, and your supporters certainly don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. And he said this is what his take has been. And that should have told L. Trumpers, because he did in a couple places. We'll show you the other interview with Fox News. He was never passionate about it. And the most he would say is, I don't have a problem with it, which means he has a problem with it. And so one of the problems he has is him and Jeffrey Epstein were buddies. And he was involved. He partook of whatever Jeffrey Epstein had to offer. Trump likes young girls. He's part of it. There's no question about it. I mean, at least in terms of this official story, this thing I call the show. He's a character in the show, and him and Jeffrey Epstein are complicit. And he's basically said it in so many different ways. He's told his dumb fucking supporters that him and Jeffrey Epstein are butt buddies and they're involved in this. So there's nothing here that there was nothing to indicate that he isn't, right? Everything shows that he is. And then his behavior on top of it. Like, that's a no-brainer. But the other part is the people that he supports. And so, to say that I don't have a problem with it implies that somebody could have a problem with it, right?
That's great to hear.
So this was even before that, and I've showed you this before, and this clip has been played a lot. But this is probably why Lex Friedman said, why are you hesitant, right? Why do you have hesitancy? Why are you not just like passionate about, let's get to the bottom of Jeffrey Epstein? And this is what Trump said there.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would.
I guess I would. So he was a firm yes on the other two things, right? But he was like, I don't know. Like, listen to, let's go back here. Because it's...
JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
Okay, so a lot of phony stuff in that whole world, like with the world of pedophiles, the world of fucking billionaires, the world of trillionaires, what is it, right? So he cares about those people. Most people don't give a shit. Now, how many people are like, oh, I hope they don't embarrass and put in jail those people that partook with Jeffrey Epstein? Like, how many people feel that way? Like, this is the same thing he said about Hillary. Lock her up and then I'll protect her. And I'll show you that meme in a bit. Let's get to the end of this thing here. But, he said the same thing about Hillary. Lock her up. No, that played well before the election. And so, when he was all aboard, lock her up. Like he was saying lock her up, and he didn't even do that. So why would you think a guy who's lukewarm about the Epstein files and is wanting to protect people who might be named, a lot of fake information, it was going to hurt some people there. It's going to hurt fucking shitty billionaires who, if they didn't do anything with Jeffrey Epstein, they've done other things that are bad, right? And, so if he's hesitant now, then he's not going to give you anything when he's president because he makes promises all the time he doesn't keep. So he told all the Trumpers in various ways, I'm not about this. I don't agree with you. I'm not all in on Epstein. And they didn't hear it. They purposely didn't fucking hear it. And so they were shocked when his administration fucking doesn't deliver, right?
But I think I would, or at least...
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there, because that was a weird situation, and the cameras didn't happen to be working.
Of course it would restore some trust, but not really, because when you realized how much... If you realize how much there was overall cover-up of these things, and it's a media, it's politics, it's across the board, then you'd be like, oh my God, they're lying to me all the time. That everything's, I can't believe anything they say. That's the whole problem. Like, and everyone kind of has that already. We kind of already know we can't believe what they say, but that would take it to another level, which would bring down the system.
Et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would.
So why would the other stuff be better, or why would he be a definite on the other stuff? Why would he be a definite on the other stuff? And anything to do with him, that he was being persecuted. You know, all the stuff that where he was being falsely, whatever, that he talks about all the time. His little whining about how he was mistreated. But why would there be hesitancy? So that's why Lex Friedman was saying, you know, why hesitancy on this one? And he showed you why there's hesitancy. One, it's his people. Two, it's his Mossad, right? Whatever, the intelligence community, whatever it is. You know, the people are saying you can't release this. And three, most important, it's him. He's fucking Epstein's bestie. So all three of those reasons, like he can't release it. It would destroy his presidency. It would destroy confidence in the intelligence agencies, and it would destroy our relationship with Israel. You know, this idea, if Israel was complicit in funding a guy who was taking American girls and sexually abusing them and pimping them out, and then to spy on American secrets and manipulate American government, well, how would people feel about Israel then? So, I mean, all these things, all the above, like, you know, all the things that you can assume are probably true, and at least partially true. And that would be devastating to the American psyche when they realize how much that this stuff is being done. Like, you can't take a peek into the shadow government and it's this bullshit deep state thing. Like, it's the whole thing. They're all complicit in it. And they're all complicit in making sure you don't see it. And that anybody who would expose it as so-called conspiracy theorists is a threat, because the truth would destroy your faith in the government, in your leadership. And you'd be like, this is, you know, I mean, all of us who have, I have no faith in any of these people. To me, these are the worst of the worst. And everybody's bad. We're all complicit. We're all way worse than we should be. And the system is a part of it, and our choosing to be a part of the system is a part of it. We're all disconnected, right? I mean, some more than others. Like, I'm working towards a connection to the divinity within me, which is a solution, an antidote to all this stuff. But even that, like, I would do a better job at that if the system wasn't, you know, if the system wasn't so, you know, hard to or pushing against that, you doing that, right? But so this is clear that he wasn't on board. He told you a couple of different times, and yet all these people just lied to themselves and pretended that what he was doing, that he was going to be doing the Epstein thing. And if he said that the other two things are more important, and when he released those files, it was almost nothing in there that was significant. I mean, so there were some things, but they're small details. Like, he didn't release a bombshell. And so all the other things he already released are not delivering what people thought were in there. Of course, he wasn't going to release the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. And now everyone should know that it's because at least one of the reasons is it was Jeffrey Epstein's bestie. And he already did this to you with Hillary Clinton. He promised to lock her up. He made it clear he was going to lock her up. And then he comes out later, partially in this same interview with Fox here, but then another interview when he said this in a public, at the same time he did this interview, and this was, running for president in 2024 interview. So was the Lex Friedman. These are interviews where he's auditioning for the American people. He says that he protected Hillary and that his followers were okay with it. And they're certainly not okay with it. They weren't okay with it then, and they're not okay with it now. But it wasn't a deal breaker like the Epstein thing kind of is in various ways. But they'll knuckle under for the same reason. But right here is where he says that.
Yeah, please. I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I think it's a tragic story.
This is about pardoning Hunter Biden.
You want to know the truth. And I felt that with Hillary Clinton, too. with Hillary Clinton, I could have done things to her that would have made your head spin. I thought it was a very bad thing. Take the wife of a president of the United States and put her in jail. And then I see the way they treat me. That's the way it goes. But I was very protective of her. Nobody would understand that, but I was. I think my people understand it. They used to say, lock her up, and I'd say, just relax, please. We won the election. I think it would be I think it would have been horrible for our country and we had her between the hammering of all of the files. And don't forget, she got a subpoena from the United States Congress. And then, after getting the subpoena, she destroyed everything that she was supposed to get. I thought it was so bad to take her and put her in jail, the wife of a president of the United States. And then, when it's my turn, nobody thinks that way. I thought it was a very terrible thing. And she did a lot of very bad things. I'll tell you what, she was pretty evil. But in terms of the country and in terms of unifying the country, bringing it back, to have taken her and to have put her in jail, and I think you know the things as well as I do. There were some pretty bad acts that she did. I think it would have been very bad for our country. And a lot of my people, a lot of the MAGA, as they call them, but the base. And I think the base is 75% of the country.
But it's all there. Like, he's protecting Hillary because she's part of his club. He's certainly going to protect anybody who's an Epstein person because they're really part of his club. They're part of his tribe. And so this is all bullshit. Like, why even bother? Because, they're all going to protect each other and they're going to protect the system. And, in reality, if one person has to go down to keep the system from collapsing. Now, the system should collapse. Like, I'm one of the few people that will say it. The system is demonic and it's hurting all of us. And its collapsing will be a good thing. But it'll crush all of us. Like, it'll be too much to bear. And that's the other issue, right? How do you just collapse the system without it having devastating effects and sending us back? That's why the higher developed souls, the spiritual beings that oversee the earth, they can't just dump the truth on you. This is where the people who run the system are playing chicken with God, right? Like, they're so demonic. And higher developed beings, whether they're etheric or extraterrestrial, that want to, right the ship here, the people who run the system are like, they've made it so that they're holding their earth and the people on earth as hostage. And we're willing, like, and the people on earth are all having Stockholm syndrome with this kind of negotiation with the divine beings that run the world and the extraterrestrial, whatever it is, right? That are wanting to see truth and want to see we regain our original purpose here. And their demonic forces are doing that, playing chicken with with God in a sense, right? And so and that inevitably will be work out whatever way it works out. But this is Exhibit A. So let me get into my other introduction here. So another example of this thing I'm talking about is to do with Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, they say it's Ghislaine, and it's spelled G-I-J-H-I-S, Lane. So the lane is clear. The L-A-I-N-E is clear. But the G-H-I-S, which spells jizz, right? Which we all know that means no one should go down Jizz Lane. But they say it spells guh. G-H-I-S spells guh. Ghislaine Maxwell. And it's just weird as shit, right? It just violates all the rules of phonics, right? I'm not a word person, but like, it's just flagrant.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly.
Holy shit, you wish her well? You wish her fucking well, right? I mean, there's two bombshell things he said. I haven't really been following it. What the fuck? Right? Which is a complete lie. And I wish her well. So, the first part, I haven't been following this. His name is going to be implicated. Now, he's been through criminal shit before and embarrassing media shit before. You know, you don't think he was following the Stormy Daniels thing? You don't think that's something that is about him? You know how angry he gets when there's rumors and talk about him. Look at how angry he is now about everything that's going on with this case. And he's going to say he isn't following it when he knows that he could easily have exposure on this thing. He knows to know what they have on him, what's out there. Like, he has no idea because he's done shit with Jeffrey Epstein for years. So he's probably aware of some of it that they have, but not all of it. And so wishing her well is like saying, you know, don't fuck me on this thing, right? Like, that's code for that because, like, he's totally following this thing. And I don't really follow the Epstein thing. I don't care about Epstein. I don't have anything to do with it. Yeah, fuck you, right? Like, it's just, I mean, it's insulting. But who would wish Ghislaine Maxwell well? Like, she is the worst of the worst. She's worse than Jeffrey Epstein in many ways. You know, she's one of these Cruella de Vil villainous women, you know, with a British accent, British aristocracies, British moneyed person you'd see in a film that on behalf of one of the creepiest motherfuckers in the world who's working for Mossad and, you know, whatever else he's into, she would go out and find young girls and persuade them to find other young girls so that Jeffrey Epstein and his pals could sexually abuse them. I mean, that's the fucking kind of person she is, right? Somebody who has money and no reason for doing this. I mean, whatever her reasons are, it isn't because she's hard up for cash. It isn't like some single mom who's, you know, being threatened or something. She has a lot of connections. She comes from a powerful family. And she dated Jeffrey Epstein and then became his de facto female madam pimp. And she recruited these girls. So does anybody wish her well? Why the fuck would you wish her well, you piece of shit? Why would you wish her well? Unbelievable. Like, just that should tell you everything you know. Everything to know. Like, Trump wished Ghislaine Maxwell well. What the fuck? Right?
He's going to turn in powerful men. How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
So you knew her, like, more than a couple of times. I wish her well. He said it twice. She wishes her well. She fucking pimped out young girls. It's, you know, there was no, I haven't been following it. Yeah, you have. So he doesn't give one shit about these girls. He doesn't give anything. He doesn't care about any of it, right? Other than his buddy and his people. The same way he protected Hillary Clinton, he would protect Ghislaine because she was one of his, and she's got dirt on him. I just wish her well. What the fuck are you talking about, right? I mean, it's just obscene. And every Trumper should realize he's not one of you. He's one of them, right? He's protecting her. I mean, just listen to this part again here.
Met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware.
Okay, so let me catch you up on that because you obviously aren't up on current events. He paid $12 million to a girl who was recruited at Mar-a-Lago, your club. I know that you don't care about these things and, you know, you're not really following it. But your club is connected to this, Ghislaine Maxwell and your club and Jeffrey Epstein, who you kicked out of your club for abusing a girl but didn't go to the police. Yeah, you don't follow this at all. You don't care about this thing. You don't follow it. But he, you know, this girl who was recruited at your club and was 15 years old slept with Prince Andrew, who, you know, raped her basically, and then gave her $12 million but admitted to nothing. Was just doing it out of the goodness of his heart to make the story go away. And it's, you know, the British family doesn't have money. They have money, but not like individual money, right? They have money as the British royal family, and they have whatever holdings or little businesses they have, side gigs. But Prince Andrew didn't have $12 million just to give to some 15-year-old girl who is now dead, who's fucking dead, who's been Jeffrey Epstein, who was in a car accident, and then shortly after that committed suicide, in air quotes. She was Epstein. And so, yeah, let me fill you in on that, you fuck, right? And so, you know, the thing about Ghislaine Maxwell, one of the great teachings of the Sajmark system, you know, Master Chargy, the third master of the system, said, that women uphold morality. That when you incarnate as a woman, that's part of your job and duty. Because women have an innate sense of connection to God because of being moms, because of having to have a loving heart, right? And men, necessarily don't have that connection. And women have a better sense of, they have more caring heart and more compassion and more empathy. And they have a better sense of what God's purpose is and God's will is. And every woman has the ability to influence men in their life. I mean, this idea that women, want to change a bad guy comes from this, right? That, they have influence. And oftentimes bad men are better around a woman they love or the woman, primary women in their life, their moms, whatever. And, behave better and, they bring out the best in you. So a good woman can bring out the best in a bad man or a mediocre man or even a good man, right? And, being able to see what's right and wrong and talk men down from doing stupid shit, which men do all the time, like wars and whatever else, is part of women's role. And when women have been compromised like they have been by the feminist movement and the CIA and no longer, are doing that, in fact, they're more a part of a problem. They become a Kali, Kali, the god Kali, a destructive force, a feminine destructive force. They become worse than men, like women who have been compromised. And so, that's the kind of person Ghislaine Maxwell is, somebody who, is making it fucking worse and then taking other women and turning them into something. I mean, all those young girls who recruited girls, I mean, how do they feel? Like, when we've recruited other girls to be a part of this Jeffrey Epstein nightmare. Like, how do they feel about that? Like, the guilt and shame they have for that. And so she's a real piece of shit. And him fucking backing her is everything you need to know. Like, the Trumpers should have tossed this guy aside, but they're so fucking stupid, and they're so fucking desperate, and they're so fucking ignorant and arrogant, and that they just blew all these things off when they were red flags, and they're probably going to blow this thing off anyway. He's one of them. He wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well, and nobody does that. Nobody with a fucking sense of any kind of a moral compass and understanding what he's saying would say something like that. I just wish her well. What the fuck are you talking about, you piece of shit? Okay, so I was just going to cover this video. I'm glad I looked that one up. I mean, I'd seen it before, but I thought everyone had seen it, so I was going to not show it, the one where Trump wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well. But this is what I was going to show originally, and there's a new one that just came out.
This morning, the Trump administration is facing more fallout from their handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case. Calls growing louder within Congress, for one, for Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime Epstein associate who was convicted of child sex trafficking offenses related to the investigation, calling for her to testify about what she knows. Conversation now around that. And now attorney...
She looks like a dude a little bit, right?
Alan Dershowitz, who was once an attorney for Jeffrey Epstein, says that he believes Maxwell would be willing to testify before Congress if given use immunity.
She knows everything. She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single trip with everybody. She knows everything. And if she were just given use immunity, she could be compelled to testify. I'm told that she actually would be willing to testify, and there'd be no reason for her to withhold any information.
Yeah, there are plenty of reasons, like her life. But this piece of shit is Alan Dershowitz. Now, Alan Dershowitz represented Trump and represented Jeffrey Epstein, represented Al Gore in the debacle of the 2000 election, the contested election. And he was the chief guy of Harvard Law School, whatever that position is, the guy in charge of Harvard Law School. He's one of the prominent gatekeepers and lawyers. He's big on representing Israel, right? Like he's a Mossad lawyer, right? All these things. And, he can't be trusted. But Ghislaine Maxwell, here, let's go to this other one that just came out. So this is the final piece here.
The Justice Department now putting out a new statement and saying it could meet with Ghislaine Maxwell in the coming days. She is the longtime associate to the late and notorious sex offender. Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence after she was convicted of conspiring with Epstein to sexually abuse minors. The Justice Department now saying, and it's a lengthy statement, but in the part of the statement saying this morning, if Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and the DOJ will hear what she has to say. President Trump, to this point and before this, has made very clear that he is ready to move on from what he called just the last few days the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Though it's very clear.
Okay, so, this thing just came out. But who would believe Ghislaine Maxwell? So, with all these people, you're never going to get the truth. So this goes back to what I say in the beginning of this video. You're never going to get the truth. Why would you ever get the truth from people who are so evil and so deceitful, so selfish, and so self-interested? And so she's going to give people the names that she wasn't going to give Trump's name. Why would the world would she do that? With he's running his own Justice Department and all that thing, right? He's not going to, anybody. I mean, she's going to make a deal with them to give out some names and, whatever it is. But you can't trust anything she says. Why would you, right? Why would you trust any of these people? Like, that's the whole problem with all of this. Because, you have people like this in your life probably that are so self-interested and so manipulative and so, deceptive. And they don't even know it's the truth anymore. Like, they're so embedded, they're so, attached to their own lies, they don't even know what the truth is anymore. And so why would you believe any of that shit? You shouldn't. You can't. You fucking can't believe Jeffrey Epstein or Trump or Joe Biden or any of these people. All they ever do is lie. And when they're telling you the truth, see, when you realize your whole system is lies, and there's truth in it, but you can't find it because it's saturated in this illusion. And some of the primary lies are about, your true purpose and what, your true history, your true religion, or your relationship with God. There's no true religion. Religion's a bullshit thing. Religion's a powerful, organization. But you can't trust your scientists. You can't trust your religion. You can't trust your government. You can't trust your history because it's all lies. And you can't fucking trust Ghislaine Maxwell. And so this is like everything you need to know about the whole thing. That they're going to go to her and they're going to cut some kind of deal and she's going to say whatever they tell her to say so that they can move on with this thing. And then she's going to be set free, which is probably what Trump wants anyway. And so, she's sitting there in jail in 2 years when the Democrats take control, and the Democrats give her a different deal. They call her before Senate or whatever it is, Congress, and they make her testify and slam Trump. I mean, who knows? So, it's just, the whole thing is a fucking, it's a rabbit hole that you don't need to go down because you're never going to get the truth. A bunch of powerful people who, rich and powerful people, and Jeffrey Epstein did a bunch of evil shit, at least according to the official story, and hurt a lot of young people. It was human trafficking, and Trump was a part of it and complicit, and so many other people. And if you found out the truth, it would mean that there was no trust in anything or anybody. And Trump has been clear from the very beginning. He wants no part of this fucking story, even though he isn't following it, because he's a fucking totally at the center of this fucking scandal. This scandal he is at the center of. He's compared it to all the other scandals that they sort of made up or contrived that the Democrats made up to go after him, because they weren't really going after him. They weren't going after him because if they wanted to go after him, they would have went after him about this. Trump has had exposure with Jeffrey Epstein since the beginning. It's his bestie. This story is about Trump more than Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell or Prince Andrew or any of these other people. And he wants it to fucking go away. And it is going to go away because it really can't come out. And so this is, it's silly to pursue these things because you have all the information you need to know, is that our whole system is deceptive and you've been indoctrinated into it and you're not living your true life or finding your true purpose, and you have to put effort into doing that, and almost nobody wants to do that. That's why humanity's fucked. All right, let's get into this other introduction, this thing with Brian that I had from yesterday. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Monday, July 21st. I just got 3 hilarious comments in a row. I was reading through my comments. I want to talk about the meditation gathering coming up in a second in the introduction. But first I want to read these comments because they're just great. So most of the comments were positive and people saying how, they came to my channel because they also knew it was fake and they knew I would know it was fake, this thing. This video that's Trumpers finally realizing the assassination, I spelled it wrong, was fake, but I got here first, motherfuckers. Because now they're all coming in, doing their stupid shit, some of them. The poll came out and Trump is doing better in the polls among Republicans, so that's all you need to know, if the polls are believable. And I just, I used spell check this time, but I got the assassination wrong. Someone pointed out and I fixed it. So that's going to come into play here. But this person says, you're yapping garbage. Brian is correct in his comment. You're a Trump hater. Yapper. Yapping. And I'm like, who the fuck is Brian? It's like he's saying, like, Brian from accounting is right. Like, we all know who Brian is. Like, I don't even know who you are. And you're telling me Brian's right about you. Brian's been right about you for a while. I'm like, who is Brian? And so, when I look at the comments, I'm looking at them, the newest one first. And so I scroll down and to the last one that I hearted, right? And that's how I catch up on my comments. So I'm always going in reverse order, the newest first. And guess what? The next comment is from Brian. I'm like, oh, I bet this is the Brian that he speaks of. I can't think of any other Brian. And so he commented, Brian commented, and then this guy commented. And Brian writes, you must be insane. The guy was shot on television. It was only his ear, but he was still shot. Like, holy shit, right? And then the one before that is another disgruntled Trumper saying, spell check much? Just reading your title made me cringe. Your ignorance is real. Are you saying that I'm stupid? Like, you believe in Donald Trump and you're telling me I'm stupid? Yeah, I spell things wrong. I have dyslexia, so that's part of it, and I'm wiped out after. I could change that, and I could put more effort into the title, which I've said before. But I usually am kind of just ready to get the fucking video up, and I always have to come up with a title name, which is a whole fucking thing. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But you're no Brian. You're not even as smart as Brian. So let me see if there's any more comments to read before I get into the gratefulness meditation thing. There was a comment where someone was quoting me where I said, Trump Epsteined Epstein. Trump was the guy who was, president when Epstein got Epsteined and didn't seem to mind about it, right? Because he's been talking about how the guy's been dead for years. And so these polls came out, which I just covered in my video today. And the video was about how, who gives a shit about Jeffrey Epstein's story now? Now that no one's going to fucking hold anybody accountable. Like, Trump killed it. The Democrats aren't going to do it if the Democrats take over unless they, there's some stuff with Trump in it. And if it does have stuff with Trump in it, they'll make it about Trump and it'll be shitty and goofy and everyone will get pissed off and fucking it'll suck and it'll be like, just something dumb liberal Democrats will be able to buy into, Trump haters. Like, everyone else will realize it'll be fake as fuck because they'll do their shitty how they suck at everything, the Democrats. And so there's no Republican going to release it. And so the Epstein file thing is over. In my last video, I was talking about how Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are talking about the link between Israel and Epstein and all this stuff, Mossad. Israel's just, they're doing more bombing and doing more fucking bullshit right now. Like they're, like some, whatever it is, just every day is something. But as I was saying in the beginning of my last video, that it's over. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no accountability. No one's ever going to do what you want them to do in terms of, any of it, holding the elites accountable, fixing the system, dealing with the debt, dealing with the immorality, dealing with all of it. No one's going to do that. Like Trump was the last hope for the right-wing truthers and the right-wing people. And real truthers have already dealt with this and realized there is no hope. So why waste time on it? Who gives a shit? Like, you're going to get to the bottom of it? You're going to know the truth about Epstein? You're never going to know. And why do you want to know that? Like, the guy's a fucking creepy pedophile, and then so are all the other people. I mean, all the other people are fucked up in one way or another. They're at least complicit in the depravity that rules our country and the world right now. And, all of us have gone along with it. Like, there's good things in our society. There are things that are, positive for us that we enjoy or make our lives easier or, whatever it is, right? There are things that we consider good, things that we say that we like, but all the evil goes along with it. I mean, there are things that maybe could be considered good. There are things that are, better. I don't know. Everything has its effects. Like, AI is great. I mean, AI is like I'm using it. But what are the effects of AI? Well, it's fucking devastating. Not only is it going to take all kinds of people's jobs, it's going to stop people from thinking and, everything. The way these kids are going to be using AI, they're just going to be totally dependent on technology to think for them, right? It's, everything's good. Everything has its good points and its bad points, its merits and demerits, and our system is mostly demerits. Everything has its side effects, and it all goes as one big thing. You can't have some of it and not have, you can't have the stuff that you like and then, be complaining about the stuff you don't like. If you like the system and you want the system to keep on going, I mean, most people are, even if they don't like the system, they're scared of it collapsing. Then you can't complain about it, and why dive into the depths of the depravity? You just know that it's there. It's all pervading. To me, it's just a waste of time. Like I do this as a job, and but if I didn't, I wouldn't care about any of it. I wouldn't watch any of it. There's just a few things occasionally I need to know about, like with, say, COVID or something like this, but the day-to-day bullshit I don't need to know about, right? Because it's just day-to-day bullshit, and the system's going to collapse when it collapses, and then we'll all have to deal with that in whatever way we're prepared for it. But, in terms of living our lives, it's over. And if the Trump Republicans don't bail out him over Epstein, and the evidence is so overwhelming that Trump had a relationship because Trump called him his pal, called him his a terrific guy, and everyone who knew about it or was around it said they were besties. And Trump has always been a fucking deranged sexual pervert himself with his weird relationship with his daughter and all those other things. There's every indication is that Trump is number one on Epstein's lists, whatever they are. Trump's at the top of it. He's the worst of the worst, and the Republican Trumpers will never, if they don't, bail out him over that, right? If they rationalize that for promises he's already not keeping, then, that's fucked. I mean, they were already fucked anyway. And so that's where we're at. And, this thing with the Wall Street Journal, I turned on Fox News. They were talking about, or I saw a video from Fox News, and they're already talking about all the great year that Trump's had, how great his presidency has been. And, that's owned by Rupert Murdoch, even though he's suing the Wall Street Journal. So, Rupert Murdoch is a huge supporter of Israel, and so is Trump. And I think Rupert Murdoch has every reason to protect Trump because of, his support for Israel and not wanting the Epstein list and his Mossad connections to become public. So I think the lawsuit is just a bogus way for Trump to get some street cred, and Rupert Murdoch will settle, and it'll look like, Trump beat him, and he'll talk about how, look at this, these guys are all full of shit. But Rupert Murdoch fucking is just handing Trump that. It's like one of those fake rap battles when they want to release a rap beef when they want to release an album. So they have some kind of fake beef. It looks like that kind of thing, right? But this thing looks like it's, pretty much over now. I mean, there's still residual things that'll come in, but, people realize they can't do anything about it, and the story just dies. And when you realize you can't do anything about it, then you have to do something else. Anyways, that that kind of sums up that was all for there's 3 comments. I got 3 disgruntled Trumpers trying to tell me that I was stupid and that, Brian said, what about fucking Brian? Fucking Brian said, I agree with Brian. All right, let's get into the other thing here. I'm going to do a second greetings because I'm going to do a separate audio that I'm going to put on my Gratefullness meditation channel. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is Monday, July 21st. I'm going to put this video up in various places. On Tuesday, I think I'll skip an individual sitting and put this up on Tuesday because I don't know what I'm going to do. Either way, this is going up the day before the gathering starts. The meditation gathering for Gratefulness Meditation starts on Wednesday, July 23rd for the Chargy's birthday celebration. He was the 3rd master of the Sajmark system who passed away in 2015. And so these are 3-day gatherings. The Gratefulness Meditation channel that is linked in all the videos of my other channels. There'll be details of how to do the meditation if people are interested in it. There's various playlists on how to do the system, and there's an introductory video when you open up the channel that explains the meditation and all the resources and things you need. It's always free, and it's just basically meditation on the heart. People who are doing the meditation, there'll be 2 group meditations that we'll do at our own convenience. There won't be any videos or anything of that nature because of the time zone difference and all those things. People can meditate at their convenience, usually in the morning and then in the evening at some point. Not more than an hour, usually around 45 minutes. There's Pranhuiti, a spiritual energy. Pranhuiti is defined as the divine energy, utilization of the divine energy for the transformation of man. God's love that is given during these sittings that people, depending on their sensitivity, feel to whatever degree. And there's cleaning that happens in the sittings in the beginning and transmission at the end. And this is all explained on the Gratefulness Meditation channel. So people are interested can check out the channel. And I'll be doing updates about my own experiences daily. One on the 24th. 24th is Chargy's actual birthday, but the gathering starts on 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So two sittings a day for 3 days. And those who are interested can check it out. And there's detailed explanations of how to do the system on the Gratefulness Meditation channel. Again, it's free. It's not it's not really an organization, just a bunch of us who continue to do the meditation because the official organization has sort of collapsed, which I've detailed in my other videos. All right, so that's all the information I have to give people on that, and people are interested can go check out the Gratefulness Meditation channel linked in the description box of this and all my other videos. I haven't seen as much Eli slop, but let's start here.
This week's top story, bullshit. All bullshit. Now over to Karen for the weather.
Thanks, Jim. As you can see, the weekend forecast is pure bullshit. Now over to Dan for sports.
Thanks, Karen. What an action-packed week of bullshit plays. Now back to Jim. And that's the news. Next week, more bullshit. Good night.
This is what I've been saying for the past few days. I roll through things. There's different ways of looking at everything, but really, everyone should be aware of you're not going to change shit, right? You can change your own personal experience. You can deal with whatever you're seeing out in the world. But the government, the collapse of the society, the breakdown of moral fabric and fiber and all these things is, it's just, it ain't happening. Like, it's just over. And so, some of it, the more time you spend just diving into all the bullshit, right, the less time you have to prepare for what's about to happen. And so I've been talking about that quite substantially. I think I had one more comment here, if I'm not mistaken. So, to go along with what I was saying about my spiritual gathering, I I said something in the dumb fuck Trumpers finally realized Trump assassination was fake. And the person writes, the only divinity that can be in you is by Christ living in you and by the Holy Spirit. Reincarnation is false. Ketchupgate is pretty based, though. You know, who says who? I mean, what are you basing that on? That the only divinity that can be in you is by Christ living in you. Now, that's what you've been told by your religion, but they've offered you zero proof of it. Like you can have a divine experience in church, but that doesn't mean people aren't having similar divine experiences doing whatever their particular religion is or spiritual practices. And so, like, you've been handed a load of bullshit by the people that run your religion, and it's all contrived and made up shit, just like all this other stuff is. But you never questioned it, right? And I don't care if people question it. I'm not here to tell people to question it. But you're coming to my channel and announcing reality like you fucking know shit, and you don't. Because you've never once questioned it. You never once questioned if that was true. Because Christ lived 2,000 years ago, and you're saying that there's no divinity in anybody before that, right? And of course there would have been, because Moses would have had to have, Moses is communicating with God in the Old Testament. And so, like, you believe in a couple of different conflicting bullshits there. I mean, there's numerous interaction between God and Abraham, right? I mean, even Adam and Eve, they're sent down and there's divinity within them because God created them, right? God created the heaven, the earth, and everything on it. And so there's divinity in them. So you don't even know your own fucking teachings, and you don't know when you're being manipulated and lied to. And so, yeah, if you want to do that on your own time, just don't come to my place. And reincarnation, they don't have an answer for this. Where was your soul before it was born? Where was your soul before it was born? It had to be somewhere, right? They don't have an answer because they don't want to tell you Jesus believed in reincarnation. Jesus talked about in the various places, not in the Bible, but in the those Nag Hammadi texts that were lost and discovered in other places. And Jesus believed in reincarnation because it's like, he knew about it. And, you feel familiarity with people and places. And there's other evidence to support reincarnation. But anyways, it's like, who told you that? That's the most important thing. Like, you've been told bullshit, which you see. Like, you could say, all right, the Trump assassination attempt is fake, but everything my religion told me, and the religion is shown to be corrupt. This is a problem that people just won't see what is right fucking in front of them, right? So anyways, let's move on to the next thing here. So just today, my wife and I went for a walk in our pasture, and we somehow started talking about Pat. And I saw this. This is where they're getting Trump into the car after he's been shot. And Pat's got a fucking, I don't know whether it's a Glock or what. So I'm not sure the significance of, because this guy with the staffer was running behind the thing. Is it a fake gun? Is it like somebody? I don't know. Pat. Okay, so I just had this one little thing left with Pat there from yesterday that I had. So this is the two different videos, but basically the same thing. Because you can see from the Trumpers and everybody else, the truth is there for you, right? And the truth isn't everything that you need to know about Jeffrey Epstein and every person that was complicit and every, turning every stone and looking at every slimy creature that's underneath them. And, which are much, a newt is a wonderful creature, right? Worms are great creatures. They're slimy and they're, whatever, but they serve a purpose and they're not, gross or in terms of, they're not spiritually gross. They're not, they're just worms and newts and spiders and whatever else, right? But human beings that have been twisted into some sort of an abomination that are somehow, running our system for this Kali Yuga period, this period of depravity, it's not as interesting as people would want it to be. Like, it's a weird kind of fascination people have with horrific things. abominations, things that go against the will of God. The villains being more interesting than the heroes in these things, right? Where the villains are at the center of every story and every reality TV show, and Trump is the center of our culture right now, him being a gross, lying piece of shit that people think there's a savior or messiah, and then other people just want to get to the bottom of him and, the bottom of his bullshit and all these things. When, the truth is the divine truth, your divine purpose. And I've talked about this in so many videos. And so, as icky as this is, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't change it, and even if you could, you can't divinize this system if you yourself are not connected to the divinity within you. Like, how can people divinize something when they themselves are gross and, a part of the abomination? And so there's nothing to see here. Like, you have enough information. Everyone has enough information. The Trumpers have enough information about Trump to know he's a lying piece of shit. And even after this, they'll still go running back to him. I mean, it's just inevitable, or whatever. They'll go running back to the people around him and whatever it is. Because they're desperate to believe that there's someone out there that's going to save them from a system that, all encompassing, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it is it's a demonic system. There's good parts, there's bad parts, but it's all demonic. And we're 100% dependent on it. I say this over and over again. And so, you can't do anything about the system, and you have to participate to whatever extent, but you can find your soul's path, and you can always do that. You can always find, you were meant to be in this time period. Like, this is the time period that you chose to incarnate into. And so the divine path and your purpose are still there. In fact, they're connected to this time in history. So you can still find your divine path and your divine purpose, but nobody's looking for it. And that tells you everything you need to know about humanity. And if humanity gets wiped off the face of the earth, it's because of that. Because the truth is there. You're looking for the truth by creating illusions and blockages and rearranging reality so that you don't see it, right? You don't want to see the truth. And so people who claim to be truthers, only if you're looking for the truth. Like, if you're not just looking, not trying, but working towards understanding the truth, and it isn't a truth about the deceit and the deception. That's all, we already know that. Okay, so if not this, then what? If not this system, then what? If not America, then what? What is my purpose? Why am I doing here? And so, these are things that people have to know and, have to look for, and they're just not doing it. So, fuck you, Brian. Nothing to see here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paravato, definitely pointing for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.